Hello, everyone. This is Daniel Fosco, Senior Product Designer on the Release Group. I'm here with Kevin Chu, Group Product Manager for our group as well. And this is the UX NPM sync for the Release Group for this week. All right, so let's go to the agenda. I don't have a lot on the current milestone work that you're not aware of, I think. I focused last week and the beginning of this week on a couple of merge requests for front end on environments. Happy to be contributing to the front end at GitLab. Small issues, but you know, it's good to unlock our developers to work on the bigger stuff. I'll add some links on the agenda as well. Especially happy with fixing one thing that was very broken on the environments page. So it's a small step, but it's one step towards making it better.
Okay. Environments folder. All right. Oh, this is good. Cool. Nice.
Yeah. So beyond that,
so you fix it. You fixed it yourself.
Yeah. I do.
Congrats.
Thanks. Yeah, I actually started with this. Let me paste all of the links so you can take a look. I started with two fixes that were on 14.1. They're not on the environments page, but they are related to environments on the merge request page. So this one and this one. I'll share my screen as well, just so it's easier to follow.
Very cool. How was setting up the development environment?
It was easier than I expected. I had set up GDK before to do some contributions to the handbook. But the thing with GDK is that if you don't use it often, it gets kind of like out of sync with with the whole infrastructure, and it breaks. So this time I had help from Marcel, who's another product design manager, to set up Gitpod. So essentially what I did is I created the merge requests from the issues. And then here on the merge request, if you go to the code, there's a button to open it in Gitpod. And these were small things, like here you can see like the environments widget is poorly aligned with this text, so that was fixed. And here, no, it's not this one. Yeah, here there was a misalignment between the buttons. It's tiny things, but it's UI polish, and it was listed as not exactly sus. There is a KR specifically for improving the merge request experience. So they annotated all the little bugs in the merge request page and then divided them by the relevant groups. Since this is related to review apps and deployment, this fell to us. And it was a quick fix. I took longer setting up the whole environment than doing these. But then since I already had my development environment set up, then I decided to pick this one from the environments page, which looked really broken, and it was literally one class that had to be changed. So I was happy to fix that, and now it looks much better.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I would love your help in setting up Gitpod to work with me too. I've tried it before, but I failed, and then that's what these things go, because it's not a priority for me. I never got it going. But I would love to contribute to things like this as well, because like there's literally millions of them. Cool.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
But and it was also interesting to see. Okay, beyond you know, because I'm familiar with Git, so doing the code changes and then pushing them is very familiar for me. But what happens after, right? So the process with DangerBot that automatically assigns
that's really
one random developer to review your code. That was really nice. And
that's nice, but it's that I get annoyed at, like, hey, your merge request message is off or things like that.
Yeah, correcting the commit messages, and then in this one specifically, it was a very simple changing a class from like section 10 to section 100. So this took 100% of the width, so it wasn't
Mhm.
broken anymore. But I had to change this in the Vue.js templates, which I had a little experience with, so I changed. But then one of the developers who did the review said, "Oh, these changes you did are really nice. Do you mind, adding another test here and doing this other change and separating this into a function?" And my reaction was like, "Oh no, I'm a fraud. I'm a designer." But I asked for help for the folks from the team, and they jumped in really quickly and helped wrap it up. And then after that, I had to go into staging server to make sure everything was working fine. So it was nice
Yeah,
to see the process
the
end to end,
flow.
not only pushing the code, but from the start, like the issue is created, the merge requests, setting up the development environment until pushing, reviewing, and testing on staging. So that was really nice to have an overview of the process.
Oh, that's fabulous. Thanks for doing this. This is great contribution. Can
Yeah,
you
thanks.
can you pull me in to walk you when you go through the process again when I'm back from vacation?
For sure. I was thinking about recording a video for like this whole process.
Yeah,
But
do
on
it.
top of that, we can definitely hop on a quick call, and then I'll help you do the same thing Marcel helped me do with the initial setup.
And we can record that sucker too.
Yeah, yeah, that works as well.
Okay,
Cool.
sweet.
Right. Let me so that was wrapped up earlier this week. After that, I was between PM hiring and trying to work up some strategy based on all the research we already have after the Think Big session we recently had. And to be honest, this is somewhere I'm struggling with a little bit. I think it's partially due to the volume of research we have, and the many directions that we can take because our product area is still very big. So what I'm trying
Yeah,
to do is go over the opportunity canvases we have for release management and for environments, and then extract specific problem statements from there, right? And then from those problem statements, try to focus on, okay, how do we turn this into designs that work for environments at the group level, or for different ways to manage environments, the discussions that we're currently having.
okay. By volume, you mean lack thereof?
No, on the contrary, there's quite a lot. There's like, I think, four or
Okay.
five opportunity canvases, and lots of epics already mapped out for environments, which we could
Yeah.
just work
Uh,
linearly, but
But
we
frankly,
talked
I don't know
before.
if I don't know if I agree with all of them. So for example, like we talk about group level environments, right?
Yeah,
Should it actually be a group? That's what we
right,
have. But it's that group group has lots of assumptions. For example, it assumes that people set groups up in the way we expect them to, but it's completely open. And also, groups don't necessarily map to what we're actually interested in, which is an application. Uh, and groups shift over time as well, like what the relevant thing they're actually working on today. Uh, so I don't think some of the things I think we should ask again. And this one I'm thinking about and highlighting now is what should what should environments be tied to? To me, environments should have a mapping to an application. But what is an application? How do we represent that?
right.
Quick ideas off, which is like we can say an application is composed of these projects, but is that how we should actually do it? And I know one of the groups in the past suggested something other than beyond groups and projects, but it was shut down because at the time it felt like too much manual effort.
Yeah.
Is there something else we can think about? Anyway.
So one of the things I've been doing, like thinking of the strategy, let me share here with you. So I borrowed a similar map like this, of it's almost like a UML map, but I'm being
Mm-hmm.
very loose, fast and loose with UML here. But essentially, okay, what is the environment, right? So going into the API response, saying everything that comes back, and then okay, what's on the screen, right? Not necessarily things are there on the API, right? So all of these things are shown about the environment. And then what's on the YAML file that relates to the environment. So all of these described here, and then how does the environment relate to deployment as it is today, and to the release. It actually doesn't right now,
Right.
but they are similar concepts that are close by.
Mm-hmm.
And then freeze periods, which actually refer more to the project itself than to the environment. So trying to understand how these pieces connect to each other. But I agree with you that I also have the feeling that there is like one extra piece that's missing here.
Yeah.
When you mentioned that groups are not necessarily the right abstraction, it really resonated with me because we were having a discussion earlier today about a request that was similar to that, to have one project that you know encapsulates other projects for managing releases. But I'm not even sure if it should be a project or a group. It's just one entity that has boundaries, and within these boundaries are other projects, and this entity regulates the deployments for all of these projects. But again, these boundaries not necessarily map to a group that is on the GitLab instance for that customer, right?
Mm-hmm.
um, so that's something we should understand better. We have another think big session that still doesn't have a team, but it's scheduled for I think 1.5 weeks from now. Do you think it's worth it to dive a little bit deeper into group level environments, not necessarily focusing on group, but higher level environments?
Uh, we could. It's if it's in a week and a half, it's possible. If I think we can
Check
just bring it
one.
up as a we can simply bring it up as a topic.
Right. And then if it makes sense, we can use the
Talk
think big
about it.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the 8th of July.
This is super helpful. You should attach this diagram to the glossary. Though, sorry, I haven't taken a look at that MR deeply. I haven't had time. Um,
Don't worry.
the I think having a diagram like this, even if you strip out all the fields, it'll be helpful for people to
Yeah,
to
I'll
understand
share
and
it over
see.
there. This is still very rough. It's just like I'm using these as tools for me to think, but if you think it's useful, I can definitely share it on the thread.
One immediate thought looking at the future state, I think I would draw the line where release points to deployment instead. A release,
Right.
because a release might be deployed, but when something's deployed, it becomes a deployment.
Right. So there's actually one Easter egg that I found out from the API response
Okay.
of the deployment, which is the deployable. I had no idea that was a thing, but
Oh, interesting.
basically a deployment has an ID, a git commit, a branch, and then after that it's just like the data was created and the user and the environment it points to. But then the kind of like the middle of the hamburger of the deployment is actually the deployable, which is the object itself that is being deployed, right? So the git commit in the branch are copied here, like Nathan mentioned, probably for convenience when doing API calls, but they're in here as well. So you have the stage name, the job name, the pipeline, the artifacts, everything is listed in here. And then the interesting thing is that the deployable is created from the CI pipeline. So if you create a deployment from the API, it doesn't have a deployable. So that's something interesting that in my mind the deployable could be swapped with a release, right? Instead of having all of this information, it just points to an existing release, and that's what you're deploying.
Yeah, fascinating. So we could, so deployable gets created at runtime. It's dynamically created when the action of a deploy happens.
Yeah, from the deploy job on the pipeline.
Okay.
That's what I understood at least. It may not be perfectly exact, but I think this is in the right direction.
Okay. So user can map to author, commit. Milestone is not typically in deployable assets. It's assets is same as artifacts, right?
I'm not sure it's exactly the same, and I feel like the
Or it's,
release would have a similar object that is like the piece of the release that would be deployed, right?
oh
Because
yeah,
it's not the
a
description, it's not the milestone.
right. A release can, yeah, just have a complete deployable object.
Right, and perhaps the object could just be shared, right? Like the
Yeah.
deployable is within the release, and then deployment of the release is actually the deployment of this deployable that's in here.
Mhm. Okay, cool. Interesting. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. But yeah, I'll share this in the discussion of the
Glossary.
glossary as well. It's interesting that we already reached to the point where we decided yes, it makes more sense for this glossary to go into the docs. So we can close this MR, but the comments keep rolling in, and the discussion
Yeah.
is really good. So
Yeah, you should keep it
let's leave
open.
it running. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree.
All right.
Okay, I linked two MRs. These, we don't have to talk too much about it here. They are creating the new platform. Sorry, I can share my screen.
Yeah.
They are about creating the new environments management and platform management categories. I'm gonna get Kenny and Sam to approve first, and then I'll
Yep.
start tagging the people that are related. And similarly, this is rearranging some of the, oh, it's hard to, by the way, do you like this new side-by-side format? Um, I
Oh, I think haven't seen that yet.
it just started showing up for me. I don't know if this is a new thing that's released.
That's
Um,
really nice, actually.
you like it better? The the challenge is when you move things around. This
Mm,
view, in my opinion, is less than ideal. If it's if it's like changing things in the same place, then it becomes really nice to see.
yeah.
Anyhow, um, in this MR, I'm proposing we move secrets management back into release evidence back into release. Because I this it's been funny because I feel like we still been taking on all the release evidence work, um, even though it's technically a package category now, but in practice it's not that way. So I propose to move it back. So if we
Right.
do things like releases an input to a pipeline, uh, then it's clearly our stuff to own.
Yep.
And then review apps, we can't keep if we move both of these back in to our stage. So I would propose that to move to testing.
Yep.
Anyway, we'll see what people say. This is my proposal.
All right.
The other thing I want to share with you is I create a new vision or a improved vision in the deployment direction page, which is here. So this is hopefully the state we can get to in a few years. Take a look when you get a chance.
So there's realign deployment categories and then add environment management and platform management. Is that it?
Correct.
All right.
Yeah, hopefully these are things that we've been talking about over and over that it's apparent it's happening. And then the deployment direction page, it's gone through so many iterations, but it's getting there, where at least my product leaders are happy with it.
Yeah, no, from a quick glance, this makes a lot of sense, and it's just like the pieces falling into the conversations we have been having, not only you and me, but as a group. So yeah,
Yep.
this looks really good.
Great. Okay. Shall we turn off recording so we can talk about the customer
Yes.
conversation?
Well, for everyone who's watching, thanks, and see you next week.